Okay, so we are now live streaming.
It says YouTube.
Yeah.
That's right.
That could be a
We are
problem.
we are live streaming on TrueTube on YouTube.
Okay, that's confusing. But anyway, if you mind, I'd like to introduce, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Free Range, and this is Gail of Gaia, and we're here with quite a crowd of people here. I've got Patty Greer, our crop circle expert, and Alfred Lambremont Webre, who is an exopolitics expert, and Paul Diener, who is being a co-host. So
would we be calling him an exopolitician?
I hope not, because I don't like politicians.
But it's an exopolitician. So, okay. All right. That was stupid. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Well, Gail does shows with my company, C60Evo, and Alfred does shows with my company, C60Evo, and Paul got a sample of C60Evo.
And I love it.
Oh, good. Well, I take good care of my people that work with us as influencers that have their own platforms. But Gail had asked me a few times to introduce her to Alfred because both of you are fabulously interesting, and you come with a huge pile of history like I do, like Paul probably does. And so when we get together honorable journalists that have had their own experiences to come from, I think we have a lot more interesting data to play in. And Alfred and I have done a show with Laura Eisenhower for years, once a month, and we never talk about our segment. We just show up and we each drop really interesting stories. And by the end, we look at each other in our little quadrants and say, wow, we all basically are going through similar things. And I'm guessing by the end of this hour, we're going to say the same thing. I was telling Alfred before the show that something I think that could be cohesive is that this line that came to me in the middle of the night when I was making all my films, cropcirclefilms.com. I made 8 movies about crop circles after having a bizarre experience in a crop circle in 2007. And this line came to me that had to be in all the films. So I had a 3-year-old child say these beautiful words, which completely echo what I feel about the world today. And this is what the lyrics are. Lyrics: it's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's not who you know, it's who you really are. Every film, for some reason, in my final edit, I'd be like, oh, that line. And I'd go grab it from my hard drive and drop it in some bizarre, appropriate place. But here we are, where every day's a mystery. You know, when we wake up in the morning, it's like, I can't wait to see the videos. Like, is it done yet? Are we on the other side yet?
Yeah, really.
Well, yeah, that's funny. So I think it's going to be interesting to talk about what we think, each of us in our own experiences. I know I'm swallowing like a huge smorgasbord of data, information, videos, reading stuff all day, all night. And if they have the slightest edge of BS, or if I don't resonate, man, I'm gone to the next, because right now we've got to really be wise. And I'm counting on you guys to carry the torch, because I got silenced. I knew too much too early about things that shouldn't have been talked about. And now I'm quiet, kind of. But behind the scenes, I'm sending you guys the links. It's like, check this, check that, check this, check that. So I still believe we're winning as a species. This is good versus evil. This is not races of politics or races of colors or even age groups. I mean, the misinformation has messed basically every age group up. So this is really about your inner stamina and your sense of integrity. So I love both of you, all of you. I mean, I think that we're really on the path to help a lot of people. And as soon as that zipper comes down and clouds open. I've had 2 days, no chemtrails. I'm like, that's how I know things are getting better. That's my little key, that when I see clear skies like this, like, what? Wow. And I've seen 2 days of immaculate. So I'm going to let you guys dive in and talk about what you feel is going on. And then I'll circle around like Jen and circle back. And
you had to go there, didn't you?
oh gosh, yeah, I probably
Please,
should.
before you go, Patty, would you say what that child said one more time? Because it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. It's not what you see, it's what you don't see. It's not who you know, it's who you really are.
That just gives me goosebumps. It really does, because that is so true, because we're living in an illusion. And it's not who you know, it's who you are. That is absolutely profound. I love it. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Last night I went to my first Patriot meeting, and all these people in Colorado came together in 24-hour notice. Like really great secret groups of people now are meeting. And that's what it is for me. I'm getting goosebumps all the way down to my ankles, that Patriot groups are getting together. And again, it's not about any political party. It's about good people versus evil and crazy. But the interesting thing was, I kind of need to still stay like Patty Private, you know, rather than what I know. And I couldn't stand it at the very end. I got up because 20 people got up to say something brilliant. And I thought, I just want to put my love into it. So I got up. I had no idea what I was going to say or how long I was going to go. And then the lady putting on the program, dear friend of mine, she came up, she said, okay, we need to tie it in a bow, just a few more minutes. Okay, Patty, do you have something to say? And I don't know how it came, but it was like one of those liners that you just asked me to repeat. And last night I said, to really cut it short, I used to be called a conspiracy nowist. Wait a minute. They used to call me a conspiracy
Theorist.
Theorist. Now they just call me.
I love it. That's great. That's great.
I think the
stumbling to
impromptu
get
meetings.
there. They used to call me a conspiracy theorist. Now they just call me. And I ripped the room up and I was like, oh, good. I can go now.
That's a great line. Can I use that?
Please. Yeah.
I'm thinking that the impromptu meetings are the best ones, because it doesn't give the bad guys a chance to interfere with them and to mobilize their forces, because once they find out that it happened, it's already done.
So true. So true. Very good. Thank you. Well, Alfred, I think you had some pretty interesting things to talk about. I think we should cover.
Well, you know, I just put together a potpourri of links as the 5-planet Gemini that I am. And you know, I could mention those particular topics.
Please do.
But they're, you know, so this is what I did. One is on the topic of ESS60 C60. Yes. I published an article in Digital Journal with a relation of C60 and smiling depression. And smiling depression is a new phenomenon of the P word, the P word being the pandemic, you know, where people have to show up on Zoom for work. And there's a phenomenon known as smiling depression, where I'm here in my place. Everybody's in their place with a nice smiling face. Whereas 70% of adult Americans report what you would call clinical depression. I'm both a lawyer. I have credentials as a lawyer and as a graduate psychotherapist. So I brought all of that to the table and came up with an article that ESS60 increases mammals' lifespan 90%, is good for smiling depression and safe to consume. And then I've been thinking over the past couple of days what it would be like to be 160 years old, which is what would happen if you doubled my current lifespan. Anyway, Patty, do you have any comments on that?
I think what people probably just missed is he just admitted in a few months he's going to be 80. Now that's a really rockin' brain. He's still writing books. He's still on the air with crazy ass people like me.
We don't think you're crazy, Patty.
Oh, no, I'm not. And that's my problem, is I'm a little too serious. So when I get a chance to play, I go for it because life is getting real serious.
Yes, it is.
I really believe we're winning. And I think that what that guy that's sitting in the president's acting chair presently is doing, it's so bad in the last week that I think it's a gift to everyone, because when you disgrace a country this big, I mean, if we continue like this, wow. I don't think they can hide what's happening now. I don't think they can hide what's going on at the Kabul airport. I mean, the mistakes are so massive right now that if we're going to continue sitting, that's God watching us going, really? That's like the aliens watching going, next planet.
That is a great way of putting it, Patty, because I'm going, when are people going to step up and stand up for the rights? I mean, how bad does it have to get?
Right. And this actually brings me to a point that I'd like to make in that. And one line of my direct ancestors goes back to the Mayflower. Another line of my direct ancestors is Taino, that's indigenous, came over through the land bridge. So, I'm here through multiple places of DNA. When I first landed at Stanford Research Institute in 1977 at the Futures Unit there, kind of a CIA-ish type of place. They pulled me aside and said, Alfred, the United States is going to be broken up into different regions. The country is going to be broken up. It's going to be balkanized into different regions, like 8 to 10 different regions. This is, like I became a futurist and they were doing a study for the CIA at the time called Alternative Futures. And one of the secret technologies that the CIA had was time travel technology. And one of the books that I'm writing now, which Gail and Paul and I talked about before the program, is the Chronography, which is secret time travel government. And so classically, there are moves being made now by the deep state, by the one state that looks like it's balkanizing the US, moving to break it up into different districts. The red states, blue states is one step in balkanizing it. And just like they balkanized the Soviet Union, when I was a talk show host at WBAI in the 1980s, together with my co-host Mary Houston, we did the first live radio broadcast in history between the United States and the Soviet Union. We did it over the NPR satellite and over Teleradio, their thing in thing. And I was invited after that to meet Gorbachev in the Soviet Union. I didn't go because my inner psychic feeler said, no, don't go. But that was before the Soviet Union was balkanized by the global deep state. And one of the pronouncements that came out of the quote Taliban which is an invention of the global deep state in my considered judgment, over the last 24 hours is as follows. He says, in the same way that we broke up the Soviet Union into 20 different pieces, which they did, it was after the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan that they then withdrew, and the Soviet Union was balkanized and was no more. They became Russia and all their different, Ukraine and all their different republics. What the Taliban put out in the last 24 hours is in the same way that we balkanized Russia into 20 different parts, we're going to balkanize the United States into 54 different parts. And that really resonated to me, going back to what I was first told when I came into the Futurist Unit at SRI in 1977. The United States is going to be balkanized into 9 or 10 different parts. And I can see that that is what's happening as a matter of political science. It's visible what they're doing. And states are now petitioning for constitutional congresses to balkanize themselves. And the social cohesion is at an all-time low. And with a pandemic on top of it, the social contract in the United States is being shredded. Now, this is being imposed from without and deeply within. And it's a, quote, deep state program that has been in progress for a couple of centuries. But I just want to put it out that the United States is in deep danger of being balkanized, and the Taliban just articulated it within the last 24 hours. So, boom.
Awesome. I understand what you're saying. I'd like to add something based on something that happened within the last 24 hours that concerned me deeply. And that is something to consider that has gone on numerous times in our past that we need to learn from. And I don't know if I know this group knows it, but if people don't know it, we have the deep state who has always funded both sides of the war. And we are in a war, again, a different kind of war, granted, but it's up to the people to step up, to stand up for their rights, to prevent some of what you're talking about from happening. Because now we're divided in more ways than we ever were. And it's actually a rather frightening situation in a lot of ways. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes. And look at the executive powers that you have now, and their deep disrespect for common values, for the Constitution, and there just seems to be a shredding of it. One of the things that I did, I taught constitutional law at the University of Texas, and I was a civil liberties, New York civil liberties lawyer. I was one of the counsel at the Panther 21 trial in New York in 1969, where the FBI set up the Black Panthers in a false accusation of that they were planning to blow up the Statue of Liberty. So here you have things like the FBI that are agencies of the deep state, and you have the American people that are basically a good people, and yet for the entire life of this nation, you've had this malignant underbody I mean, that has just been preying on the people of the United States and promoting duality. The US Civil War was totally promoted. It was the first modern war on the planet. It was totally promoted. The whole concept of slavery in the United States was totally promoted by international interests. The Vietnam War, you can go to documents that are at exopolitics.com and download them, a document called Doping. The Vietnam War was actually fought in order to be able to addict the underclass of the United States in the ghettos with the opium and heroin from the Golden Triangle. And Pan American Airways, they used to fly the heroin in the body bags of the dead GIs, and it was the CIA that had that particular contract. So here you have the predator on the American people has always been the deep state, and it continues as such. The so-called pandemic is a predation by the deep state, and this moving toward the balkanization is a predation by the deep state. And that's been since the beginning of the United States. And so you're quite right, Gail, that it's the people who are a good people. It's a good collection of human souls. And it's this deep state that is into
manipulating
yeah,
manipulating emotions and so on and so forth.
exactly.
And one of the things that I recently spoke with someone who wrote the book, The Second Civil War, How to Avoid It and Heal a Fractured Nation. And one of the things that was suggested is, instead of having all this division, we have the liberal, we have the conservative, we have the Republican, we have the Democrat. Scrap all that. We're all Americans. Okay? Let's go there, because that's who needs to stand up. And that's what we really need. I mean, it doesn't matter what I'm so sick of politics, it makes me sick. But, and you can't trust them, I don't care what side they're on. They always are, you always have to be suspect and have your guard up. I'm sorry, that's just been my experience in all the number of years that I've been alive and on the planet, and whatever I know from past lives as well. But we're all Americans, and they are trying to divide us. I see exactly what you're saying, Alfred. And you had something to say, Patty? I think you did.
Oh, I'm just thinking, I'm watching you guys, and I'm thinking how it's showing up in our daily lives. My kids have all lost lots of friends because of this shot in the arm thing. And they've made it to where people have turned into mean girls, mean guys. When you don't even know them in a grocery store, if you're not wearing the muzzle, or if you go in without a muzzle and everybody else is still scared. That's the divide that's happening on a physical level, but it's really ruining friendships. And for me, it forced me to quit going to different people in Boulder for body treatments, because I have strong feelings about not having that thing in the arm for me. Doesn't matter about other people. I just personally have an exemption because I'm already dealing with mercury poisoning every day for 17 years. So I got an exemption, the one gift of it. The point being that everybody's mad at everybody. And when you go out in public, you can expect, if you have fire in you, that somebody's going to piss you off. all my friends, I keep hearing, and then I went here, and this thing that I signed up for in some beautiful country, all of a sudden they're shutting it down unless you've had the thing in the arm.
Yeah.
So, wow. I mean, talk about separating people and brainwashing the public to think that, well, if the first two didn't work, let's try round three. If people aren't getting it, then there should be some serious questions, but that's why we are this far in it and still not healed. The overall frequency of consciousness, it goes like this, but you know, they're trying to push getting more and more people to be affected by this experiment. And who knows how it's going to show up. I got out of Boulder and I moved even deeper into a place where I thought I'd be safe. And all of a sudden, boom, at my corner, they're drilling. And I'm looking like, what? 5G tower. All the way up the canyon, like 40 miles, 30 miles, 5G towers. And they're getting away with it because everybody's rolling over. So I had just done this amazing job to my house with these master electricians. And I did a show in a testimonial with him a couple days ago with my partner, Chris, because number one, he loves C60Evo, but also what he's doing, I think, is so darn important. And what it is, I'm going to unplug my computer as I say it. I learned all about dirty electricity. And when that interview comes out, I'm going to share it and maybe even boost it because I learned so much about cleaning my house. Dimmer switches, huge EMF coming off them. So I have only off on now, but we went through the house with a fine tooth comb. There were so many places that they build in that have terrible EMF exposure. So when I had it all cleaned up and I have a remote control so I can turn off most of my electricity at night, oh, the white noise, everything is so nice. And then boom, the city lays down and lets them put up a bunch of 5G cell towers because, well, they can. And where are they from? Well, I think I read Huawei, China. So, you know, if we're not seeing this overall picture, then I don't, you know, it's almost, I love the memes lately of the lions walking and the lions are walking together. And the meme says, it's time to stop trying to wake up the sheep and start walking with the lions. And that's what I feel today. You know, you guys are lions, you're out there just banging the pavement, constantly trying to wake people up, but there's only so much we can do. So we need to stimulate them from the inside. And if they're not getting it by losing friends, losing their respective family members, events being canceled because of these ridiculous reasons, yeah, that's the Great Divide. What a brilliant plan that's been in action for, I think, 46 years, I was told, taking over the school board, putting your dirty people in there. It's just like, here we are. We've studied and researched, I know you have, and a lot of the audience has, because your shows, both of you, are constantly bringing on wise people. When I thought of doing the show, the three of us, with all due respect, we're all older. The four of us, you know, we're all older, which in my opinion is now a lot more about experience and real news rather than the younger influencers that, God forbid, I'm tired of all this competing for subscriber numbers and likes. And it's about bringing real news. It's not about, I've got deep intel. You know, everybody's got their secret. It's like, get over yourself, deliver the news, and be honorable.
Have integrity. That's so important. And it's unfortunate that the younger ones have been influenced from the infiltration of the schools for a number of years, and that influence was negative toward a Marxist, communist type upbringing, which is very disturbing to say the least. But once again, it's going to take the parents to step up. And even with that thing in the arm, oh my God, you're going to let your child go from being an organic human to being a GMO human because you haven't looked into it. And that is something that people really need to think about and look into. it's not only is it experimental, it modifies your genetics, and people are not being told. And I find that extremely disturbing. And I don't even know if I should be saying this right now, but by God, it's the truth.
Yeah.
And
well, there's a lot of ego in the freedom movement. Everybody wants the biggest audience. They want the newest intel. They want to have all the secrets. I swear, every time I come across a website that has a video or has an article or whatever, and right-click is disabled on the website because it's only supposed to be shared here and all that. Well, I get creative and I snag it anyway. So, it's. The freedom movement has to be about freedom, and it has to be about truth, and it has to be about multiple loud voices speaking all at the same time, saying the same thing. And if there's anything that's wrong with the truth that you're sharing, like I came across a picture not too long ago that it had a very valid point about something that was contained in something. Okay, but the way that the title of the meme or the photo was depicted, it led you to believe that there was infinitely more of that in that thing than there actually was. Now, that's not full truth, and it's not full disclosure. Okay, there's this in it, but here's the actual honest-to-God amount. Otherwise, you're just serving up fodder for the fact checkers to actually be right for a change. And
I would be surprised at that.
Well, yeah. I'm sure there'd be a party in the office with balloons and streamers and everything else on that day. So, I don't know.
If you're scared of the truth, then you should think about why. And if those that are scared of the truth are not going to be our friends. But that's been a big weeding and a big shedding, of a lot of people, a lot of old energy. I know that I've really upgraded my supplements in the last month, and I feel different. And I don't take a lot because I have C60Evo. But I'm really looking closely because I'm not in a hurry. I'm about doing life. I created this organic.
Great, Patty. We're about the same age.
That's right. Close. I created this C60Evo advanced facial serum with 22 natural products, and it's so clean you can lick it. But I started finding that people were saying, oh, sometimes I drip my oil, and it's expensive. Well, take it and put it on your face, and all of a sudden my skin started clearing, and I was like, So I love the change in my life because I used to be in a, how do we call it, fight or flight situation at the end of my UFO career. I had a wonderful, healthy career making crop circle movies. I made 8 in a very short period of time after whatever that experience was, where I woke up and could see things I'd never seen before. But I made a lot of hard and fast movies inside crop circles. So it wasn't like faking anything. It was all the real deal. And then ufology was severely infiltrated. And when I was making movies, I was interviewing Stanton Friedman, Robert Dean, granddaddy of ufology, Wendell Stevens, more UFO images than anyone else on Earth, like all the old daddies. Dr. Roger Lear, who was taking implants out of people, Cynthia Crawford, who dealt with so many different races that she was making statues of them. People said they carried the frequency. I can't say that one, I'm sure of. But I met all these greats, and then all of a sudden, pick, they all started dying in the last 5 to 8 years. And I got wounded badly. And somebody wanted me to die. So the shift of frequency of the UFO field completely went from the great masters to circus boys and girls. Now there's the lingering leftovers, and I don't want to be rude, but it's just my personal opinion. There's nobody left that I want to go see or sit and listen to. So that's the only blessing I can think of for the UFO field, is that disease that just happened, because now all the events are canceled. So perhaps what happened to me getting hurt may not happen to other people. You know, I was very concerned about the events because they attracted creepy, dark people that don't want the truth getting out. I think they've gotten rid of pretty much all the good people. So, you know, it might not be that dangerous anymore, but you couldn't pay me to go to any of those conferences or events. And the only way they'll ever get me to speak, which I'd be glad to do, is on Zoom, because I don't feel safe in that environment at all. There's nobody left, in my opinion, that has a clean heart, a good soul, a connection to spirit. I think that a lot of fields have been infiltrated, even the C60 field. We've got some scary, creepy people. And, you know, I worry about scary batches going out because there's people that tamper with bad things. Every field, it seems to be infiltrated, yes, because there's so many damn creepy people. And it's almost like they think it's hip to be naughty and hip to be nasty or watch porn or whatever. And, you know, hang out with the guys and drink and watch sports and throw shit around, you know, instead of perhaps looking at where we are right now and saying, like, I'm sorry to say, more female, the women are praying. I've never prayed this much. And when I get up in the middle of the night, I'm not praying for me anymore. I'm praying for the world. And I'm always running my pendulum. Where's humanity at? Are we winning? Because like you said, Gail, it is not political. It's not colors. And at this amazing meeting of 100 people showed up with a very short notice. Everybody was smart. But the neatest thing was that we all had the same intention, saving the country. You know, it's about good versus evil, period. And I invited two friends and they both showed up. But when it was over, we went out to dinner just to reflect on all the, you know, hopefully amazing things that are going to clean up Boulder and the school district and the city council. I mean, smelly. But what we realized was that people are hiding. The smart people are hiding because there's so much judgment if you didn't fall for the propaganda. If you think that the audit is real, you better not say so in Boulder, Colorado. I went to a restaurant with my friends, and the waiter was honest enough to say to us, he looked left and right. He said, people are saying horrible things. Now, again, I'm not either side of the politics. I'm just a constitutionalist. I believe in America having grace and, you know, integrity. But what this waiter said was, more than a few times, he's heard customers with a lot of money, drinking and all this, say, every Trump supporter needs to die. I hope they all die. And it's like, he said, the hatred is scary.
It's scary. Let me jump in here with, you know, amplifying this perspective with the chronography, because it is exopolitical. And what we're going to posit, and this is evidence-based, and you can go to ExopoliticsTV or News Inside Out or exopolitics.com for this perspective. And that is interdimensional reptilian archonic soul faction has infiltrated humanity. A determinate number of archonic souls, reptilian souls, now inhabit human bodies, and they control the leadership structure in government, religion, banking, military, intelligence, entertainment, artificial technology, worldwide, and they're oppressing the human population. And that's the objective circumstance of the planet. Now, they're the ones that have used secret quantum access time travel technology to control the Earth leadership structure and to bring up and elevate into power human bodies that have reptilian souls. And in the United States, for example, those include George W. Bush, reptilian soul, William J. Clinton, reptilian soul, George H.W. Bush, reptilian soul, Barack Obama, AKA Barry Soetoro, reptilian soul, Joseph Robinette Biden, reptilian soul, Donald J. Trump, our information is he has a lizard soul. It's not as dark as a Draco, but it's a reptilian soul. And that's why he's promoting vaccinations now. In other words, he's part of the darkness. I know, Patty, but that's it. So that we have the crippling influence that a covert system of incarnate reptilian and lizard non-empathic soul in leadership positions in politics, government, media, finance, and military intelligence has on humanity. And this covert system of non-empathic reptilian and lizard incarnate souls must be removed in order for humanity to prosper. And so that's what we're looking for, country to country. Like, for example, what we did today, if you go to internationaltribunal.world, that is the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice that I'm one of the judges on. And just today, we were asked to serve, and we did. We serve a cease and desist order on the government of St. Martin in the Caribbean. And St. Martin is still a Dutch protectorate in the Caribbean. And the king and queen of the Netherlands are cannibals. They have underground pedocriminal facilities at their official forests. They have human hunting parties. And the Maroon Nation in St. Martin, the Maroons is a native nation on St. Martin. That's the descendants of the slaves and the Tainos there, the indigenous, came to our tribunal, and we have served on the Dutch protectorate in St. Martin these cease and desist orders under the International Criminal Code statute and natural and common law. So that is where we're involved. You see what I'm saying? And we have served all of the governments, the Chinese government, the Chinese Communist Party. We've served Donald Trump. We've served Biden. We've served Trudeau. We've served all of these, in all of the puppet governments. The governments were established by the Draco and reptilian occupation of the planet. That's why all these leaders wear funny hats. It's kind of they're the reminiscent of what the dragons, and these reptilian beings used to wear when they were overlords of the humans.
Are you referring? I'm sorry. I was just the Vatican, those hats. That's what you're talking about. Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
But also crowns, but also,
okay.
If you go into any mayor, the little hats that mayors wear, or that, if you go to mayors around the world, not in the US, but city councils and mayors, they all wear funny hats. And it's all reminiscent of this system of when the Dracos and the reptilians ruled the world. And in fact, the leadership structure are human beings that have Draco souls and archonic souls and are completely non-empathic. And that is what is implementing and carrying out the fact that 3.17 billion people have been jabbed. That is, 40% of the human race. And this is directly, it is an interspecies war, and the humans are unconscious because most of the humans are not doing like we're doing, which is speaking our mind and speaking truth and channeling out what is. So for that reason, we have formed institutions under natural and common law, like the Natural and Common Law Tribunal for Public Health and Justice at internationaltribunal.world, that has powers under common and natural law.
Thank you.
Wow. So I would say, based on what you said, Alfred, that a lack of empathy is a good sign of what you're dealing with as a soul. Would you?
Yes, that is a basic test of whether you're dealing with an entity that has a reptilian soul, an archonic soul, or a human soul that is brainwashed into acting like a reptilian or archonic, or many humans have lost their souls. In fact, one of the effects, and I've interviewed many medical technicians who can show you, if you take aura photographs of people who have the injections, they lose their auras and their souls. You see, and so that and those injections were designed to attack the souls and auras. They're mislabeled as vaccines. They were attacked they were designed to go after the souls and auras of the children. And now in Australia, they're bringing in, I saw the picture of the soccer stadium, or the footy they call it in Australia, football stadium, where they're going to bring in 24,000 children. The parents can't go, and they're going to inject them there. Now, they're going to be interdimensional beings, Dracos, and all sorts of interdimensional beings hanging out there, because those injections will knock out the souls, and that's where they harvest the loosh. See, because this pandemic is a loosh harvest. That's what it's all about.
Wow.
And people don't get that it's a loosh harvest.
Most people don't even know what loosh is, Alfred.
I know, because we're being kept in a state of absolute ignorance by the leadership who have reptilian souls.
Don't we have an issue with the media, in the sense that they have mind control programming that is contributing to all that?
And the major media, the mainstream media, is owned by six corporations, which all come down to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, which all come down to the deep state. And I've interviewed people who show that there was a teleportation experiment of a Navy ship in 1942 back to 1741.
Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah. Philadelphia experiment, which tore a tear in time space, and back to 1741. And it was through that tear in time space that allowed this colony of about 100,000 archonic and reptilian souls to enter. And in 1741 was when the archonic souls entered and established the Rothschild family, which are just a cluster of archonic souls inside human bodies. And and that's what's going on. So that scientifically we have figured out the whole thing.
Wasn't that a misuse of Tesla technology?
Yeah, yeah. And so we have figured out the entire thing. All of these kings and queens, they are reptilian souls in human bodies.
Good versus demons.
Demons, yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because
Yeah.
that's how they act.
Demons.
Yeah, they are demons.
Yeah. So
the other thing,
so that once we've identified our objectives, then we can organize and go for it.
I was gonna, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but from my understanding, it's 6 corporations. They get their information from Reuters and Associated Press, both of whom are owned by the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
So it's coming from one source.
Yeah. And the Rothschilds are incarnate, archonic souls going back to the 1740s. I mean, we have it now. It's completely transparent, and this is a reptilian and archonic interdimensional suppression using the technology of incarnating reptilian and archonic souls into human bodies and then placing them in authority positions. It's a way to take over a planet, which they've done. Yeah. It's like, think science fiction. Well, that's how they've done it. And we're asleep, and they've kept us asleep through drugs, the drug trade, through the wage slavery, water. Through all of that. Now, all of that is what is now known, and so now the end game is what we're figuring is how do we move through the end game, because in each country everything is so chaotic and people are so, as was said here earlier in the program, at each other's throats. Having cooperation among people is very, very difficult. You had 100 patriots last night who were collaborative. We had on Saturday, we had an international press conference of 100 ufologists who came out in response to the U.S. UAP UFO report of June 25th, which is a complete cover-up, and it was a harmonic. People were in harmony. Why? Because we took it outside of the U.S. and we took it outside of the U.S. UFO movement, which is highly infiltrated by archonic souls. They look like they're human beings, but they aren't. They are archonic souls. They're part of that system.
I've met them.
And they have been for quite a while. You remember the Disclosure Project, the days-long meetings and stuff that was televised?
Okay. The original press release of the Disclosure Project on May 9th, 2001, when it went out, boom, went out under 2 names, Dr. Stephen Greer and Alfred Lambremont Webre, a reptilian and a human.
And I want to say that I am not married to Stephen or related in any way, shape, or form. He just copied my name because my films were cool. So just kidding. I will say that if you're intuitive, you scare people. And creepy uranium guy that poisoned me, which was the last time somebody tried to minimize my existence, was so interesting because there was no feeling, no emotion, no guilt, no nothing. It's like it didn't happen, that he intentionally put a bottle of uranium in my garage knowing that it would really harm me. These people that have no sense of self or sense, I think Alfred nailed it. They're soulless. And I want to say that I do know a number of really the better healers in Boulder. I've been here almost 50 years. So I know the people that I would recommend, some of them so high frequency that I'd like to say, and they'll never give me names because I don't want to know who, but I say, what's going on in Boulder? How's the frequency overall of the people you treat? Because she's really good and expensive. So it's the elite of Boulder. And I've watched this whole year and a half of the flu. And listening to her tell me overall, you know, dozens of people, what is going on generally. And she said, the ones that got the thing in the arm, and pretty much everybody, even, you know, these are rich Boulder people. So they're elite. They act as if they're spiritual, and they all made the choice. She said, almost all of her clients. And for the first little while, she said, I can't work on them. I mean, there's nothing left. It's like all of a sudden, I can't work on their meridians or work on their aura because nothing's connected anymore. She said, I've never seen anything that's consistent with so many different people. But she said, it's like the soul, just like you said, Alfred, but I'm on the ground here, not analytical. I'm on the ground listening to people that are working on human bodies. And she has told me for a year and a half, oh my God, it's worse. Oh my God, it's worse. Oh my God, it's worse. People are losing their mind because they have no more soul connection to their brain or their heart. It's like dead people. And it makes me think of Uranium Guy. When I met him, he was kind of dead. There was no personality, wore beige, like nothing. And I thought, oh, project, I can do this. Got him all these colored shirts, you know, but you can't fix mind controlled. You can't fix evil is the bottom line. And you can't fix soulless. Yes. So right now, everybody that's going through agony over losing a friend and losing a family member to talk to, we're going to have to wait this out. Like, will it be 3 months or 6 months till the truth unzips and everybody's mind opens in the same place? And we see so many confessions by so many big names, like Alfred mentioned. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take something so big and shocking that it wakes up even the sheeple that we've kind of given up on. I'm too tired to, you know, energetically, I want to use mine for the lions. I want to go with the people that are making a difference, like you guys, which I really appreciate. And if they want to catch up, that's fine. But, you know, for me, it's like I used to be a conspiracy theorist and I got in a lot of trouble. People used to call me that. Well, now they just call me.
I think that's great. I love that. I was called a conspiracy theorist 10 years ago. So yeah, I can relate. That's awesome. And I can verify from another energy worker, counselor from France, who I read the story. She had someone come in that was a regular client. She had gotten this. She didn't know what had happened because she, you know, that wasn't part, she didn't tell her that right off, but she noticed a significant change in her energy field, her aura, the whole 9 yards. And so then she came back another time and she got the next one. She was gone. I mean, her spirit was, I mean, it just wasn't there anymore. And that's what's happening, is they're rewriting God right out of our DNA, because Greg Braden said that God eternal is within us, or something like this, written right on our DNA, and they're changing it to the other guy, if you know what I mean.
What's happening is they're breaking the connection between the person and their higher self. And most of the intuition and most of the intelligence and most of the knowing that makes humanity human is the connection to that higher self, the connection to all that is, the ether, the Akashic records, and everything else. You disconnect that, it's like a computer that's disconnected from the internet. Okay, it can no longer do anything. It's just what it is. It's just a body that's sitting on the table that can only call on the resources that are installed on it. There's no updating the programs. There's no getting new drivers. There's no adding hardware. There's no nothing.
They have deleted something directly from the DNA.
What they did was they took a big old cosmic scissor and they just cut you off of God. That's what they did.
That's what I was talking about.
So,
they cut out the God gene, because we do have a God gene.
Yeah, and so what's going to happen to the freedom movement is we were always looking for that tipping point. We were always trying to awaken enough people to be able to have more awake than asleep, okay? Because then the 100th monkey principle steps in, and then it gets better and better and better. Well, what's happening is we may not be waking more people up. It's the people that are asleep and always were going to be asleep and were never going to wake up. They are being disconnected from the human collective. So the bulk of the human collective is waking up because the asleep are being shut off. That makes our job easier.
A lot less traffic, I'm sorry to say.
They say a lot are going to be leaving the planet. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say one good thing that this advanced healer said to me, because I just saw her in the last few days. She said they knew how bad the results were going to be from these things in the arm. And so they actually did certain small percentage of saline instead of jab materials. So some people got lucky. It's kind of like Russian roulette. Yep. Some people got lucky and the next dozen didn't. So they didn't want the people collapsing to be too quick, too fast, too obvious, even though they can blame it on variant number 743. You know, we have to get a grip sooner. And I think that, you know, with the 40%, like you mentioned, of the population that is going to be compromised, we don't know what's going to happen. And now that I know my neighborhood, which I thought I was up in the Tules in the woods, I was sitting here looking outside when somebody was knocking on my neighbor's front door. She didn't answer. He stuck an orange thing in the door, went around the side and put a smart meter on her house. Well, I hadn't brushed my hair and I was in pajamas. I didn't care. I threw on a vest at least so I could be relatively decent. And I went out and I said, my house is out of bounds. You will not do that here. And then I realized a month later, here comes 5G. So all those things that made me think that we were conspiracy theorists, we were paranoid, we were all these things. How could we blame a country, you know, for having such ridiculous intentions in the water and the air and all these things? Well, now we know it's true. And so we need to power up as groups and stop it. So that's my goal, is just to help power up people. Don't let go of your faith. That's the main one. When you fall into not smiling depression, when you fall into depression, you add to the loosh. Yes. So what we want to do is, no matter what it takes, in my opinion, it takes this. And all of us have been taking it. So I know I have suffered, I'm sorry to say, less than most people. I never get sick. And I'm not going to.
I don't either. And I'm not going to either. A mindset helps a lot as well. But we need help right now too. And it is a wonderful help. It really is. I love it. I really do. And I will keep doing it and keep telling others about it, because it helps. And that's what this is all about, is solutions for the planet that actually work for people.
Amen. Well, should we say our websites? I'll mention mine. My films are cropcirclefilms.com. And if you want to see 4 of them for free, cropcirclefilms.com/free. It's what I went through. It can't be about money. So my films are free, and pretty soon all of them will be free when I get an editor that wants to help me do it. But in the meantime, what I'm really doing in my day-to-day life is manufacturing new products for C60Evo, and I just designed the luscious lemon body butter coming out soon.
Oh,
Gail.
wow.
The sample might be at the post office now, round 2, because I'm being super picky. But man, when that comes out, it's going to be as good as the facial serum. So, you know, when you're treating your body well, it shows.
It's
And
your
for me,
temple.
it is your temple.
Mhm.
And the C60, the ESS60, which is the cleanest form of C60, when you're drinking it daily on a spoon and you're putting it on your skin, your scars, whatever, I mean, all I can say is the results are, I'm like, wow, okay, good. This is helping. And I feel better. And I'm in a good mood, even though the world is blowing up all around me. I think this helps. It really does, mentally and emotionally.
And you know what? One other thing I want to add that you had mentioned earlier that I think is relevant as well. And that is, I think one of the reasons that it's more women that tend to be stepping up, not that there aren't men, because there are, but the women tend to be more empathetic. They really do. I mean, it's almost innate, or it is.
It's mothering.
Yeah, yeah.
Nurturing.
Yes.
That's what it is.
And we need you guys to show up with the weapons and protect us.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a bigger corpus callosum. That's the thing that connects the two hemispheres of the brain. Women have a more developed and larger corpus callosum, so they're more capable of integrative thinking. And that's why women are a more evolved being than a man is.
Creative and logical instead of one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's all love each other and get out of our politics and our colors and our, what's that stuff called? The critical CRT. I don't even want to say.
Oh, that's a joke.
Oh,
yes, what a joke. Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
the woke dead. It's like, you know.
That is putting the cart before the horse. No. Bad joke.
I think we could probably leave people with some positive action items that they can use. Number one, get rid of the artificial flavors, colors, and sweeteners and all that stuff in your diet. Go as natural and as raw as you possibly can. Turn off that idiot box, because you are literally making yourself sick. Every time you sit there and you watch a commercial that comes through and has all of these innocuous symptoms that you may or may not identify with, you are actually allowing them to implant in your brain that you could be sick. You might be sick. Oh, I should go probably ask my doctor about this shot or this medication.
The worst
you know,
person
you're
could ask.
fine. You're fine. You're not a hypochondriac. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't let the idiot box talk you into making yourself sick. Turn off the news. They're not saying anything you want to hear or need to hear anyway. Go to OANN, go to And We Know on YouTube, whatever. For that matter, most of this stuff on YouTube is garbage. Turn that off. Go to video.gailofgaia.com. You'll find everything that you need to know right there. Or go to ESS60.gailofgaia.com and you will find every product that will keep you happy, healthy, and safe. Disconnect yourself from the fear. And don't let the bastards get an even shot.
Amen.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Paul. Thank you. And
Alfred, your website?
Yeah, and so I want to invite everybody to Omniversity. And that's at Omniversity.info. And Omniversities, now that the Omniverse has been discovered, which is that great cosmological body after the universe and the multiverse through which humanity understands the cosmos. It was discovered in 2014 by 3 books that were simultaneously published around the world, one of which was my book on the Omniverse. And you can go, and so omniversities are necessary because universities gatekeep this knowledge about multidimensional knowledge. So you can find all of that, an introduction to multidimensional knowledge at Omniversity.info. And in the spirit of things, it's a website that I built myself.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, this has been great. Thank you, and we should do this again.
All
It's
right.
a pleasure for sure.
Stay well, everyone, and keep the faith.
Thanks for
Yes.
joining us.
Faith over fear.
Absolutely.
And courage is, courage is contagious. So be courage, use your courage, stand up. And
Just
faith over
remember,
fear.
bravery is being afraid and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you,
Certainly.
Patty. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Thank everybody.
Thank you.